So this is for lesson 7 from unit 8, law of cosines, for the girls who missed the class, or for Nephthalin, or for anybody else who wants to check some of their answers. Remember to complete all the homework, start doing the review, okay? So let's do some law of cosine problems. I'm on page 678. I'm going to do number 18. So we have a triangle. Happens to be a non-right triangle. I'm going to label my vertices with capital letters S, R, and T. Notice little s is across from big S. And I happen to know the measure of angle S. Angle S is 108 degrees. I also know the two sides next to it, which is 16 and 20. So that we can be clear about, because I have 3 different angles, 3 different sides. Notice capital R is looking at, it's across from that 20, right? Because this one is little r. And the T, its kid, is over here. Little t. What we want to do on this problem is that we want to solve the triangle, meaning I want to find the 3 angles, and I can put a little check box, and I also want to find the 3 sides. And that says sides. It's a little bit crooked because I'm reading a message. I'm doing this. Okay, notice that so far I have 2 of these sides. I only have 1 of these angles. So that means that I'm going to use up all this white space and do the law of cosine several times, just to remind you what we're doing. For the law of cosines, it's basically like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But I'm going to put a little bit extra because I don't have a 90-degree angle. I have that. So what I'm going to be using is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. I'm always going to use a minus 2. These 2 variables are quantities, whatever. If I actually know them, well, then I can plug in numbers there. If I don't, I leave those variables. And then we're going to have cosine of c, the parent, the mom of this little c over here. Notice 1c all the way to the left, matching variable but bigger or smaller in size, all the way to the right. Okay. So notice I have my 1 arrow. This is how I know that it's supposed to be the law of cosines. If I can make 2 matching arrows, well, then do the law of sines. A lot easier. Don't mess with this law of cosine stuff. Okay, so let me write with green. So I'm going to line up my s's. So little s all the way to the left side is going to be, little s squared is going to be equal to a bunch of stuff, and way over here to the right side, I'm going to put cosine of capital S. Okay, so I have s squared cosine of s. Now I need to use the 16 and the 20 because I know those 2 numbers. 16 and the 20, that's these 2. So I'm going to go 16 squared plus 20 squared. I'm going to go minus 2. Then we're going to write down my 16 and my 20. Okay, all multiplied out. Okay, I jumped ahead because my phone shut off on me. Okay, notice how I've chunked these 2 calculations to remind you how things go in the calculator. So for 16 squared plus 20 squared, that's my 656. Then this other chunk over here, that's a 108. Because I shouldn't have even written down the capital S, because notice it's already been labeled. It was already given to us. So put in the values. I don't want to have 2 different variables in my equation. I don't want a little s and a big S at the same time hanging out. You want to get rid of as many variables as possible and just leave 1 as an unknown. So to remind you how that goes on the calculator, that'd be -2. Notice I pressed this negative down here. If not, you're going to get an error because it's at the beginning. parentheses 16, or multiplied 16, same thing. Here's the 20, then cosine 108. Every now and then, by the way, in case you don't trust your answer, if you think that 197 seems sort of big, you can always check out mode if you have a graphing calculator handy. And notice on the third thing, radians is in white, meaning I did not pick that. I picked the black one. The black thing is the good thing, the thing I want. That's what I need to be using. Okay, so I go back here, and then I'm going to subtract 656 minus 197.77. What I get is this, 458.23. So 458.23. I have a s squared. In order to get rid of the squared, I need to square root, right? So I'm going to go second. Here's the square root. I'm just going to press second and answer. That's going to give me 2141. I'm going to put it over here to the right. 2141. That goes right here. Notice I can check something now on my check boxes. To remind you what I'm talking about with my check boxes, I want to know all three angles and all three sides. That's what it means when it says solve the triangle. Notice I have 1, 2, 3 of the sides. So check, I have all three sides. Now I need to get those three angles. Okay, so we can go about this different ways. Since we're doing law of cosines, let's pick another letter. I'm going to pick R, first letter in my name. So here's my dad, Rodrigo Sr. His name is Rodrigo Sr. And then I'm over here, Rodrigo Jr., little Rodrigo. So I'm going to make an equation with R's this time. One to the left, one to the right. So I'm going to get little r, but I know what little r is. It's 20. So then use the actual number. 20 squared equals, and then way over here, because this is little r, my dad has to be way over there ignoring me. Okay, so cosine capital R, big R, this is the value of little r. Now use your other two numbers. We're going to use that 16 squared plus 21.41 squared. Notice a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We need this little end stuff because that's not a right triangle. So we need to balance that stuff out. We always put this minus 2. Take these two values. You may want to put them into parentheses because decimals and multiplication dots sometimes will be confused, especially if you're watching on a video like you are right now. So now we're going to enter all that stuff. And just like we should be doing and socially distancing ourselves. So this guy is in a completely different place than the R over there, right? Then you're going to look on all these. We're going to combine stuff. Notice these two make a little chunk. So just like before, let's put that into the calculator. I'm not going to zoom in this time because you should know how to enter that into a calculator. Going to the second power. I got 714 and 39 cents. Oh, 20 squared, that's 400. I know that one. 20 $20 bills. Okay, now I have another little chunk that I can deal with, which would be all these numbers that are next to cosine R. If I put those into the calculator, -2 times 16 times 21.41, that would be -685.12 cosine R. Now for the part of the social distancing to apply it to our situation currently. This guy is in a different spot than that one, right? These numbers can't avoid being around R. Cosine's right next to him. This one's a little bit further. This one is the one that's the most social distancing. He's there at the grocery store, but not standing right next to R. So we need to get rid of him first, get him to safety. We do that by spending all of our money, all of our $714.39. Spend it over here. Okay. These cancel. You should know that we're going to get a negative answer, right? And what I get is negative $314.39. I bring down the rest of it. And again, if you're doing a problem, this one's not one of the homework problems because it's an even. You were supposed to do odds and stuff. When you're doing them, you have the choice of writing in the little box if it fits. If not, use binder paper. That's what usually Emily does when she's doing problems that are lengthy like this. Okay, this is attached to this one over here. It's this times this other number, whatever that is. So let's divide it. And divide it on this side. I'm going to get some kind of decimal. The negatives are going to eliminate each other. That's usually going to happen, even though we had a problem where it didn't during class. So I'm going to get 4589 equals, I'm going to leave a little space because I'm planning ahead. I know how things are going to go. Then we have to remind ourselves, how do we get rid of this cosine? Because I know cosine of some angle, some number of degrees, is equal to this thing. Well, I'm going to do the inverse cosine. The inverse cosine. To remind you how that goes, I will zoom in to the calculator. So if you have one of these, you're going to go yellow button, and then you find your cosine right here. Then I'm going to go 0.4589. Some of you have a blue button. Or if you're on your phone, remember to tilt it sideways, and probably your iPhone or other device may be able to work. So what we get is that R equals 0.4589. Oh wait, I wrote down the wrong thing. I bet. Good thing you didn't even see that. R equals 6268. 6268. This is capital R. So I'm going to go and put this over here. 6268. Now we need to remind ourselves of something. I believe even the Math 1 people know about this by this point in the year. We have 3 angles in a triangle. How much is a triangle worth when it comes to degrees? Well, isn't it true it's worth 180? So I'm just going to go 180. Went shopping. We spent $108 at the first place. Then the second place, $62.68. Looks like you're only going to have a little bit left over to spend, maybe for lunch. I don't know. Yep, you would end up with $938. $938 right here. Notice that completes my angles, all 3 of them. I have now solved the triangle because I have 3 angles and 3 sides. This is our first video about the law of cosines. Going to go on to the next one.